Welcome to another episode of Make Mental Health Matter. If you happen to be joining for the very first time, thank you so much. My name is Kelli Melissa Reinhart. I am your host for the evening. And if you happen to be watching this, really the whole point of the show is to bring you resources, information, people who are either professionals in the mental health space, advocates of mental health, or those with lived experience. The conversation around mental health, mental wellness, mind health, whatever you want to call it, is so important. And we don't do enough of talking about what we're experiencing as humans in general. So, this show really is to bring that open, honest conversation and bring you people resources because there are a ton of resources out there, but most of the time we just don't even know that they're there. Or oftentimes in the mental health space, we think there's this huge waiting list. And what I like to do is bring alternative resources, what people do within the mental health, mental wellness space. And then also on the other side is give you the stories of the people who have been through the experience. And oftentimes you'll notice that most people that do this work have their own story, why they do what they do. And that's the ultimate goal of the show. So thank you for watching. And without further ado, I am very excited for my guest to come up. I've known her for years, and we haven't really had a total conversation about what she does in this part of her life. So I am super excited to have her on the show. So welcome, Antoinette. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me, Kelli. I'm really excited to be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
I am so excited because I know you from kind of like a different part of what you do in life, but
Yeah.
then I know that you have this whole holistic and wellness aspect, and a much larger or longer time frame than I even knew reading your
Yeah.
bio. So tell the audience a little bit about what you do and your story.
Okay. So, I am a holistic health coach. Mainly, I concentrate on helping people to reduce their stress naturally through breath work and through mindfulness training. So, and then if people want to learn meditation, I also go there. But I've been in the holistic health world for over 25 years. I was a master herbalist. I still am master herbalist certified and also a Reiki master teacher. And now I've been able to add a lot to my modalities. So and that has to do with my story. So in my story, I worked at the Boeing company. I worked in corporate America for a really long time, and have a couple of daughters, absolutely amazing girls, and my husband. We've been married for 30 years, who you know. Um, and I was always blaming everything outside of me for my stress. It was the project that I was on, or it was my boss, or it was managing, household and working, or, whatever and I was always, pointing out to everybody else. Um, and I mean, I even moved my family. I mean, that's how much I was pointing outwards. Um, I had found myself, I own horses, and one of my horses, she's a mare, and she's absolutely beautiful, but her and I had a really, really tough relationship at first. Um, and she plays into this whole story because my trainer said, I mean, she would throw me, she would kick me. So my trainer's like, we need to find you a horse that's not going to possibly kill you. So, but I knew that there was something there, so that's part of the story. But the other part of the story is it wasn't just me blaming everybody. My numbers were really off as far as medical numbers, and because I'm a master herbalist, I was able to control my blood pressure and my cholesterol and everything with herbs, which was good that I was able to do that and didn't have to go on pharmaceuticals. But I also helped friends do the same thing. But what I kept noticing was everybody was, if you either medicated with pharmaceuticals or herbs. And So I knew something was wrong, and my stress, my relationship, my husband and I were arguing a lot, and so everything was just kind of like falling apart. And I realized that there was something that was missing in all the training that I had had, that I didn't know the root cause of a lot of the problems that I was having and that I saw others having. So I went back to school and I went to Quantum University. So they teach the holistic coaches how to use quantum to be quantum medicine teachers or coaches. So I do have a bachelor's degree from them. But through that process, what ended up happening was they encourage you. You can't teach it unless you're doing it yourself. And so every class, I would incorporate whatever it was that I was learning. And a lot of the classes was around stress reduction. And as I was working on my stress reduction, what was really interesting for me was before that, I would go out to the pasture and Lily, my horse, she would run away from me. Didn't want to have anything to do with me. I'd have to chase her down if I wanted to do anything with her. I started working on these stress management techniques that I now teach. And she would then just stand there and let me actually walk up to her and pet her until finally, probably about 3 years in. I mean, it took a while with her because she didn't really trust me at first. But she actually she would run up to me when she would see me. And so what I realized was that she was mirroring me the whole time, that she was mirroring my stress. And the horses are really good at doing that. They're amazing creatures. They have the most amazing electromagnetic field. They can feel you coming up. They know what your emotions are. So when people say don't be nervous, around a horse, it's you really need to get a control of those nerves, because whether you think you're hiding it from them or not, you're not hiding it from them. So but they're amazing animals. They actually can help you heal if you will let them. And so her and I are now heart horse. I mean, she's my heart horse. Her and I were so close. And it was probably about 3-4 years later, I saw my trainer again, and she's like, oh my gosh, what happened here? And I said, I started working on me, and I realized it was all me. It was internally. It wasn't everything else I was blaming out there for causing all of my stress. And today I'm actually off of all my herbs. I don't take any herbs. I was actually at the doctor, doing the yearly physical. I do believe in Western medicine. I don't not believe in it. And she was shocked because it was, 110/60. And she's like, wow, your herbs are really working. And I'm like, nope, not doing that anymore. So, able to naturally, manage my stress, my relationship with my husband. We hardly ever argue anymore. I mean, we do have, all husbands and wives, you do have your misunderstandings and stuff, but I'm able to manage my emotions so much better because of the work that I do. So it's not just, people like to say, reducing your stress naturally. What you're really doing is you're managing your emotions. So you have, your fear, your shame, and your pain and your guilt, and those emotions, they are low frequency emotions, and they're more matter than energy. And there's a whole, thing around that I could probably go down a rabbit hole there, and I won't. But your love and your shame and sorry, not shame, your love and your gratitude, appreciation, those are very high frequency emotions. And so if you know how to take yourself from those lower frequency emotions over to those higher frequency emotions, you can actually start thinking, because it actually turns this guy on. When you're under stress, your pre-cortex here kind of shuts down. Not in everybody, but in a lot of people. And so you're not thinking. If you're not thinking, you're reacting and you're not responding. When you start managing that, and you could start responding to the situation that's in front of you, because you're always going to have stressors. So it's a lot better if you can start learning how to manage it. And it's not just emotions, it's also thoughts. People don't realize we have 50,000 thoughts in a day, and that's like on the low end. And if you're not aware of your thoughts, in quantum medicine, we know that your thoughts are creating your reality. And if you're not self-aware of those thoughts, there's there's a reason your reality is the way it is. And one of the things that I've learned through his name is Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Oh my gosh, he's one of the teachers at the university, and he's taught us that the thought is the electrical field that's going out to the quantum field of possibilities, and your emotions are what's drawing it back to you. So if you're saying to yourself, I want that Lamborghini, and that's the thought that you're having, but you're having the feelings deep down inside is about lack, then that Lamborghini can't come to you. You're going to get the Pinto or something, right? So the emotions really do. So both combined, and that's why I work on for people not only the learning how to manage the emotions, but learning how to manage the thoughts as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And I actually was just talking about stress and going from negative to positive thoughts today, actually, on I do a support group, a grief support group every
Oh,
Mondays.
okay.
And so interesting that you brought all of that up too. But I think
Yeah.
and I've had conversations like this with other guests is the stress, like stress hormones that like dump into your body
Mhm.
are so bad. And I think that
Yeah.
people don't really truly understand how much it can like physically affect you
Yeah.
mentally and physically.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, we don't learn how to manage the energy that we are putting out or bringing in.
Mhm.
And I know, like, I call them your happy juices, your brain's happy juices. That's what I call them. When you're triggering those signals to be able to um, not react and or
Right.
react differently.
Right.
So yeah, no, I this again, this is like such an important conversation that I don't think we have enough of.
No, I agree. I've been through a lot, and nobody ever talked to me about stress. And the scary thing is that a lot of people, they're going into their doctor, because they're having some kind of symptoms of some sorts. And 80 to 95% of those people, the symptoms that they're going in for, the root cause is stress, and yet 3% are getting stress management training. That's a huge gap. And people don't realize that, yes, this, stress plays such a toll on your body. I mean, everyone, a lot of people know blood pressure and that type of stuff, but people don't realize that it affects your immune system. And I believe that this has a lot to do with, all the autoimmune diseases that we have out there today is because of the stress. The other thing is, I remember growing up, people would say, and even I would say this, oh, I'm just so stressed out, because it was such a, you were so important if you said that, right? It was such, yeah. And it's really not a good thing. And I think, but though, what has happened is people have really become numb to the chronic stress that they're under. They might be saying to themselves, well, I don't feel like flighting, or I'm not going into the fight, flight, or freeze mode. Well, the chronic stress, you're not going to, but you're still producing those same hormones. Your body is on high alert in chronic stress, and it runs under the radar and you don't realize it's going on. So it's dangerous, I think. I think it's one of the biggest problems that we have out there. And I've found a lot of people who have been able to, help themselves by reducing the stress, a lot of my clients. So,
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I know in you telling or talking about this, right? Like, I have learned a lot of techniques over the years through the trainings that I've been in
mhm,
and with previous guests that have come on and have talked about like breathing exercises and
mhm,
different ways of thinking versus having like those negative or intrusive thoughts popping in and out.
mhm.
And it sounds like it would be fairly simple, but we also know
Wow.
that it can be really, really challenging
Yeah.
to, and I still have those moments that I get overwhelmed and I get really stressed out.
Mhm.
And I mean, we just had our our annual gala a couple weeks ago, and I'm like feeling now the effects of it physically
Okay.
because of all the stress that was leading up to it this year, unfortunately. And so I got sick this weekend, and I'm just starting to get over it. And it's one of those, like, your mental can affect your physical, and your physical can affect your mental, and it kind of becomes a cycle. And when we aren't learning how to break that cycle, then we kind of get sucked down into what I called the darkness, which is like depression or anxiety or whatever you want to label it. But it really truly is important for us as humans to know how to shift and change, because our minds are so powerful. And I love Joe
Yeah.
Dispenza. Like
Yeah.
oh my gosh, when I read some of his stuff, I was like, oh my gosh. And I talk about it all the time, because I was like,
Oh, yeah.
he got in an accident as a paraplegic, and now he walks around
Yeah.
and tells people his story. I mean,
Yeah.
the mind is so powerful, but I think that people don't realize that. Like we the commercial that popped into my head was I think it's Purdue Chicken, where they're like throwing antibiotics at everything. And I don't know why, when you were saying, I was like, we can't throw just like medicine at things. We can't just
Yeah.
throw like, the Band-Aid fixes on stress.
Right.
Like, you really have to learn techniques
Yeah.
that can help shift your mindset and that stress.
Yeah. Definitely. One of my clients, she was on antidepressants and anxiety type stuff, and it still wasn't helping her. She still couldn't go to the grocery store without a panic attack. And she started working with me. And when she first started working with me, it was on Zoom. She's not in the same state, because I do Zoom and in person. And it was all dark, and I couldn't see her in front of me. And, I worked with her for 4 weeks. And then after 4 weeks of teaching her different breathing techniques, because you can't just know one, because that one isn't going to work for every single situation. It's like a toolbox. You can't throw a hammer at everything. You're going to need a screwdriver and all that stuff. So after 4 techniques, the blinds were up, and I can start seeing more of a silhouette of who I was working with. And then by the 7th week, she was out in her kitchen. The blinds were all up. I could see this beautiful woman sitting in front of me. I was like, oh my gosh, I will never forget that feeling. She, that weekend, she had gone on a hike with a friend. She wasn't having those panic attacks anymore. She was talking to her psychologist about, reducing some of the, what they can do to start, maybe weaning her off, and, that type of stuff. But it was just an amazing experience. And, I definitely have to work with your medical professional. I don't want anybody to get off a pharmaceutical without working with your medical professional. So I just had to say that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So,
And it is important to know, right? There are professionals, there are
yeah.
holistic, there are alternative types of
Mm-hmm.
therapies, there are different modalities, as you talked
Mm-hmm.
about. And you have to kind of find the right thing that's going to work for you specifically, because what works
Right.
for me is not going to work for you. And,
Yeah.
like, it may
Yeah.
or may not, right? And so, yeah, I love that. I always say that. I'm like, you have more tools in your tool belt, and you can pull
Mm-hmm.
out any of them at any point in time. And I
Yeah.
think that's just important. So we're going to go to a quick sponsored break, but
Okay.
once we get back, we'll chat a little bit more. And I know maybe you might do a breathing technique for us. So
Okay. Sounds good.
we'll be right back after this quick sponsored break.
Okay.
I'm Sinette from Bredar. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. Please join me in my Power Hour every Sunday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV. Mwah!
And like that, we're back.
We're back. Oh, I saw her on one of your shows. She's
Yeah.
really fun. I like her a lot.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
came a couple weeks ago, I think it was. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I love the E360 host. A lot of times we go on each other's shows and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um so if you happen to be just joining us, thank you. This is the Make Mental Health Matter show, and we are talking today with Antoinette, and she is sharing her stress reduction. She's a stress reduction coach, but the modalities. Oh my gosh, my brain is going faster than my mouth can, and that happens all the time. Her different modalities that she uses for stress reduction, because stress reduction is not a conversation that we have as often as we should. And oftentimes when people are really in stress, I guess that's how I'm going to say it, when they're in a high stress constantly, then we have those challenges. They can be physical, they can be mental, and it tends to just kind of go into this cycle where really we need to learn the tools, the techniques of how to break out of that cycle. So we started talking about really how you have helped yourself, what your story is, and what you started noticing about how you could help yourself by reducing the stress. And I think that it's just, again, such a wonderful way to be able to, whether it's breathing or another tool that's in your tool belt, that you can really start to lower stress and move from negative to positive thoughts, which sounds really easy in the theory of saying it, but it is not always easy.
Mm.
So I'm curious, and I know that you talked about one of your clients, and yourself, and how you have helped, and really lowering the stress in your lives and the lives of everyone else around you that you work with too. Um, Other than breathing, like what are those? And you talked about like herbs and working with a professional. So what else? And I guess the question, I don't know what the question is that's formulating in my head, but it's more of like, how can we make this easy?
So how can we make stress reduction easy?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I know. Big question, right?
It's a really good question. So, I mean, there's a couple of techniques that are really good that you can learn to do, especially when it comes to, let's say, a thought that's coming in your head that you don't want to have. So, one of the things that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about is say the word change. Change is not it's not one side or the other. And so what you're just saying is that when that thought comes, and I do that all the time because, and for me, it's just like, oh yeah, that's not who I want to be. I don't want this thought to create. So change. And because if you push against a thought, it's going to continue looping. You'll get on that train. When you push against it, you'll end up getting on that thought train and it's going to take you not where you want to go. So you don't want to push against it. And one of the best words that I've ever heard that really works for me is change. So, and that's an easy solution to be able to do with thoughts. Breath work is absolutely amazing. We've talked about that because what breath work does is it triggers the parasympathetic side to come on. Now, people, what they don't realize about the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, is that we have control over it, and our control is through our breath. So, when we have the sympathetic side on, so the chronic stress or the acute stress is going on, when we have that on, what the parasympathetic is going to do. So let's say, your sympathetic is over here. Your body wants you in homeostasis. Your body wants you in the middle. So you're over here in stress mode. And then if you do your breath work, what's going to happen is the breath work is going to kind of like swing the pendulum and bring you to rest and digest, but you don't want to stay there. Staying there can actually cause conditions like depression. You want to move back to the middle homeostasis point. So that's really key. And moving back there is where you're going to actually be able to, be healthier. And that swing should only take 10 minutes to get you back into center. So, one of the breath works that the very first breath technique that I teach is diaphragmatic or belly breathing. And the reason being is because I want you releasing as much stress as possible. When you breathe out, think about the fact that you're releasing your stress. So, if you're only taking in because you're, breathing very shallow and this is all you're taking in, then that's all the stress you're going to take out. When you do that deep belly breath and you're using your diaphragm and you're actually filling your lungs from the bottom all the way to the top, what's happening is you're taking in this much oxygen, you're releasing that much stress. Woohoo! That's what I want you to do, right? So, and in the belly breath, you want to inhale for the same count that you're exhaling. So it's whatever's comfortable for you. I don't want anybody to, what do they call that? Hyperventilate, or I don't want that. But usually it's around the count of 5 is usually what people do. And so you inhale for a count of 5 and you exhale for a count of 5. I like it when people use the nose and not the mouth to do that. But the exhale can be either on the mouth or the nose, but I happen to like the nose. So, in order to do the belly breath, what you need to do, and I always teach people lay down while you're practicing it, because it's easier to feel it and it's easier to know what you're doing when you're laying down. And then after you feel like you really know what you're doing, sitting up, you can do it. You can do it standing, you can do it walking, you can do it in any type of a situation, just to help your body trigger that parasympathetic to bring you back into center. So, you need to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. I know you can't see my belly, but and then as you're breathing in, you don't want this hand, the one that's on your chest, you don't want that one to move a lot. You want that to stay pretty still. And then you want your belly to actually come out. So your hand on your belly should be coming out, and it's kind of like a balloon, thinking of it, you're filling up a balloon. And then as you're breathing back out, your belly is coming back in again. So, so we could just practice that for a couple of breaths. And this hand will move at the very end because you're filling your whole lung. So you will feel a little bit of movement here. So I wouldn't be too strict about that, but you really want this hand, coming out. So. And after doing a couple of those breaths, I don't know if you felt your nervous system kind of going, whew. So, yeah. So those are the two things that I can say on the emotion side, because now you could start responding to whatever situation's in front of you. And what I tell my clients when they first learn this is just give me 90 seconds if that's all you could give me. Do it in the morning before you get up and do it at night before you go to sleep. And if you can only give me 90 seconds, give me 90 seconds on each side. The morning and the evening, and work yourself up to 5 minutes where you can do it for 5 minutes in the morning. It will re-energize you in the morning, and believe it or not, it'll help you fall asleep in the evening. So, and the reason why it energizes you in the morning is because it's actually helping to increase your resilience so that you're more resilient. That's another thing that a lot of my techniques do, is that they increase your resilience. People don't realize, they think that resilience is a trait, and it's not. It's a skill that's learned. And I teach that through the heart math techniques. I don't know if you ever heard of heart math, but it's a lot of the breath work that I do, and I'm a certified coach in that as well. And so they help you to learn. Well, I do through their research. You could pick any health coach that you want that is heart math coach, and they really teach you how to move from the lower frequency or the more negative emotions over to the more positive ones, which those positive ones are the resilient ones. Those are the ones that build up your resilience, whereas the more negative ones are going to reduce your resilience. So
Yeah. Well, so what popped into my head as you were talking, one with the belly breathing, I just always remember my mom, she was a music teacher, and singing has to come from your diaphragm.
oh
And
yeah.
so anybody who sings knows how to really breathe from their diaphragm. But I
Mhm.
remember she'd always do are you breathing from your chest? Or are you breathing from your diaphragm? So
Mhm.
that is one thing that I always remember when I was younger. But then also, it is really important to be aware of how you're breathing, right?
Mhm.
And these techniques can really help. And I love that you said, even if you only have a certain amount of time, it doesn't mean that you can't do it, right? Like
Right.
you can find time in the mornings, time in the evenings,
Mhm.
and how it will energize, but then also calm you down to help you sleep. And I think that as you were talking about the high frequencies and the low frequency, and then I thought about like negativity, right? Like it drains people, like when you're
Mhm.
constantly thinking about negative things, like
Mhm.
I call it the Eeyore syndrome, the nobody loves me, everybody hates me, you know?
Yeah.
But it's so draining when you're in that space, because that's like all the energy that you're absorbing is like that
Mhm.
negative energy. And when you're able to release that and really shift into like those high frequency, which is more empowering, it
Mhm.
is such a different world to live in.
Yeah.
So it sounds like incorporating breathing techniques with the mindset will
Mhm.
really start to help reduce the amount of stress that people are going around and having on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can't get the stressors are going to be there, and so it's there's certain things that I will advise people to not do, like don't watch the news.
Yeah.
you know, but if you can, so that but there's the stressors are always there, and so we do need to learn to manage it. And I remember you talked earlier about the immune system, or and that you had gotten weakened by that stress. That was, and that is definitely something that happens. That's another story that I have where beforehand, before I was doing all this work, my immune system, oh my gosh, if it was going around, I would catch it. Um, and now that I've been doing this work, I don't have to worry about it. I don't worry about it at all. So my daughter was sick and I went to her house, brought her, some soup, and I sat on the couch and we watched a movie together. I cuddled her. And, she's 20 some years, 23 years old, but that's okay.
Yeah.
She gets to be cuddled by her mom. And I didn't worry about it. It was like 3 days later, my throat got a little scratchy. Next day, my nose was a little runny. And then the third day, it was gone. So yeah, my body didn't see it, but my immune system was strong enough to kick it, really quickly, and it didn't take me down. So, that's just an example of, how your immune system can improve by doing this. So I wanted to bring that up too.
Yeah, and I mean, that's huge also, is just having a natural way to be able to fight off germs and disease and all the things that come up, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's so I don't think a lot of people realize that there are natural ways of doing
Yeah.
things, unless you're like in the field and or you've experienced it yourself.
Yeah.
But that's why I do the show, because we talk about the things that not everybody talks about. So
Right. Oh, definitely. I mean, people think it's, oh, breath work, woo woo, and it's not. There's so much science behind it. There's so much science behind, heart math is a name for a reason, because when you are your emotions are expressed through your heart. They get stored in different chakras, but they get expressed through your heart. And your heart is actually communicating more with your brain than your brain is communicating with your heart. It has its own nervous system. It's a very, very intelligent organ. And so they study the heart, and they study, they have so many studies on doing their breath work, and how it actually can take your, once you can understand how to bring your heart into coherence, it brings your brain into coherence. And when these two are coherent, you can conquer the world. I mean, it's, so, and the reason why they do heart math is because they're doing studies around the heart, but math has to do with, science, right? And there is a lot of science. It's not just woo woo. So, and that's what I love about it, because I'm an engineer at trade. So I wouldn't be, just doing woo woo.
Yeah.
But I do love woo woo, but
Right. Yeah. I think that's what, I mean, a lot of people are like, I don't know if I believe that, or I don't know if it really helps, but we all breathe. We have to breathe to
right.
live, right? It's normally something that we do without thinking. It's unconsciously done. However, when we can consciously breathe certain
Yeah.
ways, then that actually helps our body even more. And most of the time, and I know this from many guests and also other things that I have learned, is that we don't actually take in as much oxygen as our body needs
Oh,
in
yeah.
general. And then when you add stress on top of that, then you're probably taking in even less oxygen, which
Mm-hmm.
not helping your brain, because you need
No.
oxygen to your brain to actually think. And so
Yeah.
it's scientifically proven. It's not woo woo. It is
No.
body makeup. And we really truly, if you if you strip away one of my other friends says our meat suits, she calls them, our body is our meat suit.
Oh,
um
I love it.
yeah, I mean, we're energy, right?
Yeah.
Like we have
Mm-hmm.
atoms and all the
Oh,
geeky
yeah.
things if you're science based, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, our bodies are just all energy, and
Yeah.
with organs that need oxygen, and the brain needs oxygen. So it really it's not woo woo.
No.
It will absolutely help you. And if you're willing
Mm-hmm.
to just listen and explore maybe those alternatives, then I don't know, maybe you'll notice what you notice and it
Yeah.
might be helpful, right?
Yeah, definitely. So the what you brought up in that conversation was also the cells. They not only need oxygen, but they need energy, because we are all energy. And if we're in all the depleting mode all the time, our energy is going towards those emotions, and we're draining the cells of the energy that they need to do their work right. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's our body, people, body. We have to have all these things to be able to survive. And
Mhm.
if you want to thrive, then you can definitely go find out where Antoinette is and work with her, or
Yeah.
find out more about heart mapping or mathing.
It's MATH, so heart
Okay,
math.
heart math.
So,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one
Um,
of the modalities that I teach, and I teach mindfulness and something called pro-conscious meditation, which is all around quantum physics, and it's what I've learned, and still I'm getting my master's degree, still learning from. I'm studying right now Taoist medicine, which I absolutely love. So it's really, yeah,
you
really
just keep
interesting.
adding tools into your tool belt.
Absolutely. So, yeah, because if I can help myself more, I can help other people more. And I keep applying what I'm learning. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel
Well,
like my mission is to help people, heal naturally. So,
absolutely. So, anything else that you wanted to share that maybe we didn't touch on?
um, wow. I can't think of anything right. I can't think of anything. So, do you have any more questions, maybe around resilience or um, the quantum field?
No, actually, that's a good point, because I was going to ask a question about resilience. So, Can
Okay.
you just explain, because I know the term resilience, right? But not
Mhm.
everybody really fully understands what that means. And I
Yeah.
know, I mean, we're born with resilience. If you think
Mhm.
about when we were a baby, we naturally are resilient.
Mhm.
But as we get older, sometimes we forget how to be resilient. So can you just
Right.
explain a little bit, like, what does resilience mean?
Yeah. So heart math has an amazing definition, and um, I don't really want to say it without it being up on the screen and reading it. But one of the two things that they say in their definition is that resilience is about having the capacity and being able to prepare for any type of situation that's coming your way. And so, I mean, that's not, I mean, their definition is very eloquent, but the main thing that I want to get across is the capacity in preparing for resilience is something, I mean, you are born with resilience, but you need to keep increasing that resilience all the time. As you get older, it does naturally decrease. And so if you don't know how to practice it and keep it up at a higher level, then, you're going to have, you're not going to be as patient with people and, that type of thing. So, and for me, I look at it as a battery. So think of your phone. You've got your phone, right? And this right now, my phone is sitting at 62%. So it has the capacity, that's the capacity on the phone. If I don't like it, or let's say it was 20%, I would get nervous and I would be plugging it in because I want to prepare for any situation that this phone could be in so that it's ready for me at any time. Well, we have an inner battery that's in us. And that inner battery, if that inner battery is sitting at 20%, then we need to know how to build that up to 80, between 80 and 100%, so that our resilience is up. When that's down, our resilience is very low. And so that's what the heart math techniques actually teach us, is how to build that battery up back up to 80% under all kinds of different circumstances. Because you can have such circumstances that are just doing a little bit of a drain on your battery, and you may not know it until you get to about 40%. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm really tired. Oh, and then you think back about your day and you think about everything that you did, and it's like, oh, okay, that drained me, that drained me, that drained me. And so now you have some work to do to get your battery back up. But we've got the techniques to help you get that battery back up to that 80%. And when it's there, when your resilience is up, your stress is low. And so you can think when situations are hitting you. I remember a situation where it was last May, the house flooded, and we got all that spring stuff here in Colorado, and it was really nasty, and it flooded. But getting all of the everything in line and getting everything set up so that the contractors were coming in, and it was hard because everyone was flooding everywhere, and so they tell you they'd come, and then they wouldn't come. And I remember this one day, there was just all these little incidences that were happening until finally I was on the phone with somebody and I actually snapped at him, and I'm not used to doing that anymore. And I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, something has happened. And so when I looked back at the day, I realized that, oh my gosh, my battery is way too low. And I did a 10-minute technique to bring that, but it just took me 10 minutes to bring it back up so that I could start thinking again and be resilient again, and not have, these little things not only drain me, but the last little straw that, kind of made me snap. So, but that's all about self-awareness too. You need to be self-aware enough to see those little drains that are happening. I don't know, I hope I kind of helped with the resilience, but think of it as that inner battery, and techniques like what Heart Math does. They do help build that battery back up to that 80%. And we help you to become more self-aware of yourself. We have workbooks and stuff that that you work through with me to help you become more self-aware. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, um, I don't think that we think about like ourselves as a battery, right? Like I know I talk about
Yeah.
self-care and how you have to refuel with self-care, but
Hmm.
the cool part about it is it can be pretty simple. Like you said, it can only take you 10 minutes. It's not going to take you like 20 hours to charge a phone, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't take you 20 hours to recharge your battery either.
Right.
So when you become self-aware of those little things that are draining your battery, and then you learn how to recharge, that can totally shift how you're going about your days. And I know I've had those responses also, like the triggers of, okay, and then I think about it and I'm like, I probably need to take care of myself so that I don't snap at others. So totally understand that also. And so if anybody wants to work with you, what is the best way to find you?
So the best way to find me is my website is, my business is called Soaring to Source, and that's why the eagles are behind me. So because Soaring to Source, so the source, I consider that to be the quantum field of possibilities, or big C consciousness. People, refer to it as God. So it's whatever, you refer to that, that source. But in quantum medicine, you do need to soar to that source and bring the healing back to the physical body. It's not the other way around. And I think that's where the Western medicine kind of needs to make a little bit of adjustments. But so that's why I call it Soaring to Source. And sorry. So there it is. All of a sudden I'm like, what's my website?
You're good. Yeah.
S2S. Yes. S2SnaturalHealth.com is the best place to definitely get a hold of me. I also do have a Facebook group, and on my page, let me think. Yeah. So it's S2S Natural Health on Facebook, so they can, reach me there. And I do have a private group, but there's a link to get to that private group if you want to, where I give a lot of hints and tricks and stuff like that. If you live in Colorado, I do practice out of Parker, Colorado, and I practice out of Deep Space. So that's my husband owns that business, and so he gave me a little corner in that business. And so, but I also do master classes once a month on the third Saturday of every month. And in those master classes, I teach a lot of the breath work. So if you just want to, periodically come, you can do that. There is a sequence. I don't let people go out of sequence during it, because if you're on that, if you come into the second one and you didn't get the first one, you're going to be lost. So there is a sequence to the master classes, but you just have to let me know and I'll make sure you're in the right one. So
awesome. Yeah. And I know when you and I had chatted before coming on the show, you had mentioned that you do classes at Deep Space, which is awesome. So definitely. And it's a really great venue. I promise to go to any classes or have any events, host any events there. Really great place. So definitely go check the website.
Yeah, check that out. But you just triggered me on something, and I'm doing it's called Quantum Wellness Expo. So I'm actually doing an expo. I'm looking for health vendors in the area, and I really want to build the holistic health community. And I figure this is one way to do it. So if anybody's interested in a booth, just contact me through the website. There's a contact me page, and I'll let you know about it. But it's free to the public, and it's going to be May 19th. So that's something else that's really exciting.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your expertise. And again, it's all about having these conversations that I don't think we have enough. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kelli. I appreciate you too. You do a lot of hard work in this area. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I so appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. That was another amazing episode of Make Mental Health Matter. Again, the whole point of the show is to bring you resources, people resources that maybe you weren't aware of before, or techniques, tools, like those tools to add into your tool belt. We can never have enough tools in our tool belt. I am constantly learning. I learn from my guests. I learn from other people all the time. And I am one of those that likes to just keep adding certificates to more certificates, because you never know until you know, right? I also love to bring guests who are advocates of mental health and or have a story to share. If you've been watching this for some time, you've heard those stories. So I'm actually actively looking for guests, and a big announcement is this show is actually going to be starting in March, syndicated to a radio station, which goes out to 56 other radio channels. Very excited to be expanding our reach across national and international radio stations, and then also here on E360 TV. So big things are happening with this show, because again, it's so important to have these conversations. Mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. But the thing about it is that mental health is our brain. Not all of us have or experience a mental health challenge or have been diagnosed. And so it's important to just understand how we can help ourselves so that we can help others. And when we have so much stress and we're living under stress, it dumps all these chemicals into our body, which can manifest in physical and mental ways. And so being able to have these stress reducing techniques is really important. So if you want to learn more, go find Antoinette. I'm going to put the website one more time. That is a QR code somewhere over on here, this screen. So you can scan the QR code, go check out her website. And no matter whatever you do, come back next Monday, because I do have another amazing guest. I am booked out a couple of weeks, but always looking for guests. So if you know somebody that would be amazing on the show, please send them my way, and make sure you come back and check us out next week. But I'll see y'all later. Have a great night.